There is a moment most people miss. The tone shifts before the behavior does. The words stay the same, but the voice changes first. Hierarchy is often revealed in sound, not language. You've heard it before. A subtle tightening, a softening, a cautious pause that wasn't there yesterday. You noticed it. You just never decoded it. People rarely announce that their perception of you has changed. They signal it through tone. The human voice is one of the fastest tools we use to communicate status. Before someone adjusts their posture, before they change their level of access to you, before they alter their behavior, their vocal pattern recalibrates. When someone perceives higher status, their tone often lowers slightly. The pace becomes measured. Interruptions decrease. The edges smooth out. The voice carries less challenge and more calibration. It's not always conscious. It's adaptive. Vocal dominance cues are subtle. A sharper tone, quicker pacing, upward inflections that test, clipped responses. These signals often appear when someone feels comfortable asserting control. When that comfort shifts, the tone shifts with it. Humans are extremely sensitive to hierarchy. Even in informal conversations, the nervous system scans for leverage. Who is more stable? Who reacts? Who chases? Who explains? Who withdraws? Tone becomes the first adjustment. You may have noticed that when you change your behavior, people don't immediately change their words. They change their delivery. A person who once sounded casual may begin sounding precise. Someone who sounded dismissive may suddenly sound neutral. Neutral is often caution. Tone modulation reflects perceived power distance. When someone believes the distance between you has narrowed in their favor, they may speak more freely, more loosely. When that distance expands, even slightly, their voice adjusts. It becomes contained. Authority is often inferred through vocal steadiness, not volume, not force, steadiness. When your tone remains consistent under pressure, others recalibrate. If your tone does not chase validation, does not escalate defensively, does not tighten under challenge, people begin testing less with words and more with sound. You may have experienced someone suddenly sounding more respectful. The words may not have changed, but the pace slowed, the interruptions stopped, the voice carried weight. That shift rarely happens randomly. It happens when their internal model of your position updates. Sometimes the shift goes in the opposite direction. Someone becomes sharper, more dismissive, slightly condescending. This often signals an attempt to reassert dominance when their perception of leverage feels threatened. Tone becomes a probe. People test tone before they test boundaries directly. A slight edge in the voice, a subtle rise in pitch at the end of a sentence, a quicker response designed to pressure your reaction speed. They are measuring your stability. If your tone tightens in response, the hierarchy locks in. If your tone remains stable, slow, and controlled, the system recalculates. Tone softens when you assert boundaries calmly, not aggressively, calmly. Aggression invites counter-dominance. Calm clarity often invites recalibration. The other person hears containment. They adjust to it. You may have noticed that when you speak less, people begin choosing their words more carefully. Silence increases uncertainty. Uncertainty increases caution. Caution shifts tone. Conversational framing is often controlled by the person who regulates emotional pacing. If you rush to fill silence, you relinquish frame control. If you allow pauses, your tone carries more weight. Slower speech often signals lower urgency. Lower urgency signals lower need. Lower need signals leverage. Humans mirror each other unconsciously, but mirroring is not equal. It often mirrors upward. When someone perceives you as stable and grounded, they begin aligning their vocal tempo to yours. If you slow down, they slow down. If you remain level, their tone flattens to match. Status sensitivity is high in social environments. The nervous system adjusts quickly. A person who once used a playful, casual tone may become formal after you reduce availability. The shift isn't about mood, it's about recalibration of access. Tone also reflects uncertainty about how far someone can push. When you stop over-explaining, the other person loses predictable leverage. The voice becomes exploratory instead of declarative. Questions increase, statements soften. When someone lowers dominance attempts, it's often heard before it's seen. They interrupt less. They wait for your response. The micro pauses widen. These are not random courtesy upgrades. They are signals of perceived repositioning. Emotional calibration plays a role. If you no longer react visibly to minor provocations, people adjust their vocal testing. Tone becomes neutral, even slightly cautious. Emotional stability reduces opportunities for manipulation. Without reaction, there is less to grip. Power distance recalibrates through sound first. If someone believes you now control access, your phone conversations change. The warmth becomes measured. The friendliness becomes structured. The voice signals awareness. It's important to understand that humans adjust tone based on perceived leverage, not intention alone. If someone senses that you control the frame of interaction, they reduce unpredictability in their delivery. Predictability signals respect. The voice reveals who controls pacing. The one who controls pacing often controls the frame. If you speak slower without aggression, you create gravitational pull. Others adjust. Eye contact interacts with tone. When your gaze remains steady but relaxed, your voice does not need volume. Controlled eye contact, combined with measured tone, increases perceived authority without overt dominance. Posture subtly supports vocal shifts. When your body remains grounded, your tone tends to stabilize naturally. Others sense this. They adapt. Avoid chasing emotional shifts. If someone's tone sharpens and you chase clarity immediately, you reinforce their probe. If you pause, breathe, and respond evenly, the probe dissolves. The recalibration continues quietly. Humans are constantly assessing who controls access, who controls emotional volatility, and who controls conversational direction. Tone is the fastest indicator. You do not need to force change. You stabilize yourself, and others recalibrate around that stability. If your tone does not fluctuate with their energy spikes, they adjust downward. Reducing overreaction is less about suppressing emotion and more about pacing response. A half-second pause changes perception. It signals deliberation instead of impulse. When you speak slower, without tension, the conversation shifts from reactive to controlled. Slowness without aggression often signals internal authority. Avoid increasing volume to signal confidence. Volume can signal insecurity if paired with speed. Instead, regulate tempo. Tempo carries more information than loudness. Let others recalibrate to you. When someone tests with tone, respond with clarity, not correction. Correction invites challenge. Clarity invites adjustment. You may begin noticing that tone shifts occur after you change behavior. When you stop volunteering unnecessary information, voices become precise. When you reduce availability, tones become formal. When you stabilize emotion, voices soften. This is not about dominating conversations. It is about recognizing that tone reflects perceived position within the interaction. Respect is often heard before it is explicitly expressed. The hierarchy shift is rarely declared. It is signaled: a softer edge, a slower pace, fewer interruptions, more space. Once you begin hearing these shifts, social dynamics become easier to read. You understand when respect is rising, when caution is increasing, when dominance attempts are lowering. Tone does not shift randomly. It recalibrates to the stability you present. When your internal state remains steady, external voices adjust. Not instantly, gradually, quietly. And over time, you stop reacting to tone shifts emotionally. You observe them analytically. You understand what they signal. You adjust nothing externally. You stabilize internally. Respect is often heard before it is seen. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. The tone shift is rarely about words. It is about position.